Good evening. You are tuned in to No Fun Radio, NFR, affectionately known as. My name is Andy Resto, and I'm guesting here at No Fun Radio. Should be a very fun time for the next 15 minutes or so. I'm joined by two members of Iceage, otherwise known as Iceage, who are here in Vancouver tonight to play at the Astoria in a couple hours. How's everybody feeling? Feeling good?
I felt better, but ultimately I'm okay.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, somewhat
Both.
fine.
Yeah, okay, great. Do you want to do quick intros, who you are, what you do in the band, and maybe who's missing?
My name's Dan, and I play the drums. There's a Jakob and Johan. They're not here. And my name is Elias.
So you've made it here to Vancouver. Long tour we're in the midst of?
Very long,
And,
yes.
Yeah.
It's a 2-month stretch in one go. We've been going since the 4th of May and have another 3 weeks to go. So, yeah, it's a long one.
Yeah.
And we're in the middle of it now.
Yeah, yeah. So how you've been to Canada before a few times. How does it treat you? How do you like it here in the great North?
Usually quite well. At least we got no shit from the border today, which was a relief. And I don't know, I'm not sure how Canada is treating us yet.
I'm curious if there is any. I'm wondering what the stereotypes of Canadians in Canada are from where you're coming from. Iceage, for those who don't know, are originally from Denmark. What are some basic stereotypes of Canadians that you have in your mind?
Well, I mean, I think initially I didn't really know that Canada was separate from America, right. So none, you know. But I kind of discovered Canada as I got here. I was aware that, you know, people like ice hockey and whatnot, but
Right. Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
I have an uncle that lives in Canada that I visited when I was small, so I got an impression from
Yeah.
that.
Great.
That's mostly in the woods and the lake and that kind of thing.
Lumberjacks in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Perfect. One of the first images that comes into my head when I think of Copenhagen or Denmark is a mermaid. It was in Hans Christian
Little
Andersen.
Mermaid, yeah.
Well,
It's
yeah.
lovely.
Yeah.
Not sort of very impressive in terms of scale, but
Yeah, the statue of it.
She's there.
I'd probably be slightly underwhelmed if I came to see it.
Yeah. I went to this, I was there a few years ago, and I went to this Hans Christian Andersen museum, and it was actually, I didn't realize when I was going, it's a museum for children, but pretty fun to go through, lots of little games and stuff.
Don't think I ever heard of it.
It's a magical place to go. Anyhow, so you obviously are on tour because of the new record you put out. For the YouTube viewers, looks like this is what it looks like. It's all in black and white, but the cover is red, pink, white. The album's called Beyondless.
Yeah. Yes.
How are you all feeling about it? How has the reception been? Do you pay attention to reception?
I mean, to a certain extent, you know, it's just good to have it out there in the world because we've been sitting at it for a minute, and I mean, it seems like from playing it for people on a nightly basis. It seems to connect to some people at least, but I mean it's difficult for me to speak on.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I guess that immediate reception when someone tells you that they do or do not like it, that's one kind of reception I'm looking for rather than reading reviews.
Yeah,
and that
sure,
kind of
gotcha. Yeah. I think I think it's great. Very interesting record. I think we were just listening to the second record before coming on air, and there's been a real arc and evolution the band has gone through. Is there How conscious is that when you guys are doing that, or has it been really a kind of natural growth as musicians and writers that have come to make this new record?
I mean, it's a conscious, natural growth, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
But not one that you plan and keep too much track of. You let it grow by itself.
No, I mean, we just work with the ideas that we get.
Yeah.
And I don't know what forces pulls you in one direction rather than the other. But to us, it seems that it couldn't have gone in any other way. It wasn't like that we were presented with a broad spectrum of different ways to go. Just this was the way forward for us.
Yeah. I think I guess that's why I was interested in your thoughts on reception, because I think you're a band that's open to fair or unfair, critical interpretation of what you're doing as a band because of the major changes it's gone through over the last several years, and how young you were when the first record was coming out. And I think it lends itself to critics kind of taking the band and making of it something that maybe it's not, and that you have no control over.
I mean, I think we were always quite resistant towards any good or bad sort of hysteria around the band, and didn't really want to take part in any sort of hype, because that's not what it is to us. And I don't think that I think it's dangerous to start listening to all these voices, you know, because ultimately, like, we have a pretty good idea of what we are, and if it's open for misinterpretation, that's good too, I think.
Yeah, to any sort of reaction is great. Like any sort of real reaction to something. Yeah. Even if someone was really throwing bottles at you on stage, it'd almost be a great experience.
I mean, it's not something that hasn't happened before. I wouldn't call it a great experience.
Okay. But I'm glad you used the word evolution, because that's exactly what it is to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, and some of what you're talking about is kind of finds its way into the songwriting, and maybe particularly on a song like Showtime on the new record, that it seems to be dealing with this kind of stuff, and almost like a decadence that goes with this stardom, whether that's real or unreal. And do you find you're thinking about that a lot and trying to consciously write about these things, or?
No, I mean, that song is just about musical theater, and a guy who offs himself on stage, and kind of veers away from the rest of the album because it just tells a story from beginning to end. And I wasn't, like, when I started writing the lyrics for that song, the idea was that nothing was gonna happen. Because I thought it was brilliant that there would just be a song about a musical theater show about to start, and then nothing happens. But then the temptation came at the end for the guy to off himself on the stage, and partially because it rhymed, you know. So I mean, you can read into it that it could be a comment on various things, but it's also just a story.
Great. I guess, could you touch on that a little bit, the process of writing lyrics in what isn't your native language, but really seeming over the years to grow into that pretty well, and what that takes, I guess, for you. Is there a translation process that's going on for you, or is it the other way around?
No, I write straight to English. But it's something that sort of blossomed by sheer practice, you know. Like, in the beginning, the lyrics was a necessity, because there had to be some. So I didn't really start writing lyrics out of a desire to do that. But then the desire came by doing it, and it's just kept growing over the years. And it's something I enjoy a lot.
Any temptation to do a fully Danish album?
No.
Not anytime soon.
Okay.
Nah.
Yeah. Great. Another part of the new albums, there's a collaboration with Sky Ferreira on the second track, I think it is. Any other one? How did that come about? Two, any other dream collaborations you have in your mind that you'd like to work with some people in the future?
First of all, the collaboration in the process of writing that song, it just became apparent that it would give something to that song if there was another voice on it, both audibly and in terms of meaning. And she was the first one I thought about. I could just picture her voice in that song, and fortunately she agreed. And Shirley Bassey.
Okay.
Yeah, if we can bring her back from the dead.
Yeah, okay.
That'll be the next one.
Interesting.
Yeah, some big band filled with competent musicians that could do exactly what I've imagined.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, like make a whole orchestra or some sort of huge ensemble. Yeah, and then musically with the records, I think people originally would see it as some sort of thrashing punk music that's gone, particularly starting with the last record, into almost like a twangy direction. At least that's something that I hear in it. What are some influences that were maybe not changing, but that were starting to creep into the music as it's gone on, that has changed the way that the sound has developed?
I'm not sure how much that is for us to say or know, but I guess we kept piling up the music we listened to, and that crept in there somehow. So it's more of an addition than a change, I'd say.
Yeah. Okay.
I feel like it's just your general cultural understanding. You know, you stylize it in a way that seems right or suitable for you, but you don't always get to pick your own influences. And everything that you hear or read or see that just sort of gets sucked into the same space and broken apart and gets conjoined or mutated in different ways and comes out in idea form. So it's hard to sort of separate which comes from where, even though there's also some obvious parts of musical history that we draw more from than others.
I do believe that things such as life and experience and things outside of cultural products have an impact as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. What is currently? Are you largely? You've been driving around recently for this tour.
We spent many an hour in a van.
So what is how does Iceage spend a long drive? Is it in complete silence? Are there consistent CDs or tapes playing, or is everybody, or are you playing road games, playing like fun road games?
We had a deck of cards, but we lost it recently. There'll be a lot of absolute nonsense talk where language sort of progressively deteriorate over the course of the tour, and like little very particular things that will just get repeated into endlessness. And then we listen to music, we try and read with our brains in a state of mashed potatoes, you know.
Just to make sure that you're working your intellect slightly when you're on the road. What are the current books / CDs that are in rotation?
I'm reading a book called Rock Springs by Richard Ford, a collection of short stories, and it's quite befitting because they mostly take place in shitty little Midwestern American towns and about drinking parents and that kind of thing.
Yeah, great.
I was almost finished with Death in Venice, and I left it in some backstage room somewhere. I don't know.
I'll never know what happens.
And I have a collection of plays by Sam Shepard that I've been reading it.
Okay. Yeah. So when is the Iceage staged theater play coming, and what do you think the story behind that?
I don't know. I think we'll have to see where sort of life goes in order to reach a conclusion. You know?
So you said you were the new record Beyondless. I wanted to ask about the title because not technically a word, but I enjoy those kind of amalgamation of words and evocative phrases in a sense. What kind of sensation were you going for with that? And also a bit of an interesting design, a contrast of the cover, and then you have this really nice lyrical insert that's kind of like a novel or a collection of poetry that seem almost at odds with each other.
Okay. I'm not sure I got the question.
The title of it. What were you looking to? I guess what I'm saying about the title is that I like the kind of combination of words to kind of evoke a meaning, even though the word itself isn't something. And
I derived that word from a Samuel Beckett novel called Westward Ho. And I just stumbled upon the word and looked it up and discovered that it didn't exist, but sort of suggests a meaning, a perfect meaning, and it had meaning with that song that ended up naming the album. But I liked it as a wrapping for the album because being a word that no one knows, you sort of forced to give it your own meaning that a dictionary can't give you.
Right. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you have to think about it instead of.
Or don't.
Yeah.
But if you want to get some meaning out of it, you have to use your brain.
Yeah, great. And so you said you were sitting on this one for the last little while before it came out. Is it safe to assume that there is new material that is being worked out or sat on currently?
Yeah. It's just ideas brewing.
Yeah. Great. And some of these dream collabs coming into it.
I mean, Shirley
see.
Bassey is dead, so I don't think so. But maybe we can get in touch with a medium of some sort. So
or old archives or something.
Yeah,
That's cheating.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So before departing, just wrapping up, if we wanted to wrap up this radio program, are there any song requests you might have? Any song requests that are on your mind that you'd like to play on here for the people?
Yeah. Why don't we go with Diamond Sapphire with Shirley Bassey?
Okay. Great. Diamonds Are Forever. Any second suggestion?
I think that one is a good wrapping up song.
Okay, great. So we'll play some of that. Anything that you want to relate from the other two members of the band? Do you think they'd want to get anything off their chest?
Truly doubt it.
Okay, great. Anything that you two need to get off your chest before heading over to the Astoria to play tonight?
I relieved myself from anything I could possibly say.
Okay, great.
Feel all emptied out.
Great. We've been emptied. Thank you so much for coming and taking the time to sit here and listen to my rambling.
Yeah, no problem
Glad
whatsoever.
that you guys are here. Excited for the show tonight. Any words? You're touring with Mary Latimer. Have you been doing the tour with her, or is it just this show?
The
last couple of weeks.
Ever
Okay.
since San Diego, so we've been touring for
Any-
a week now.
Yeah. Okay. I thought that was an
She's
interesting.
on for the rest of it as well.
Yeah, an interesting pairing. How did that?
She's a lovely woman and a delight to listen to every night.
Great. All right. So if anybody's watching this right now, death stare to the camera. If everyone just stare at it for a second. We're gonna be at the Astoria. Actually, they're gonna be at the Astoria. I'll probably be there in the back in a few hours, I guess. So come on out. With Mary Latimer and what is the
It's another band.
Civilian? Civilian is what they're called.
Not civilian, I don't know who that is.
Yeah. at the Astoria, and then to Seattle for the lesser radio programming of KEXP tomorrow afternoon.
Yes.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for coming, and have a good one.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Diamonds are forever. They are all I need.